I'm Troy Smith. I'm a history professor at Tennessee Tech here in Cookeville. And we are today at the Foxleaf bookstore at 24 West Broad Street in Cookeville, where the owner, Sherry and Slocum, has been kind enough to let us, for the last couple of years, use this space for a writer's workshop, and now as a space to conduct some interviews with local authors. And we have one of those local authors with us today, Janet Biery, aka J.R. Biery. The book that you're going to be focusing on is called Will Henry, right? Can
Will
you
Henry.
tell us a little about it?
Well, it started off Will Henry, the Monopoly King. I wrote it as a screenplay. But it's about a boy who's 13, and it's 1935 in Tennessee, around Cookeville. He lives in Cookeville and goes to one-room school. And his father has to leave the family to find work up north because there's just no work. His mother's very pregnant, and there's, 3 other children, and he has to step up and be the man of the family. So at the beginning of the story, there's an accident on the train, and the one of the men on the train is injured, and so the conductor and the engineer go look for a man to replace him at the church, and they see Will, who's very tall and all grown, and they think he's a man, and he goes along with it and gets the job shoveling coal, for the Tennessee Central for 6-7 weeks, temporary job.
What gave you the idea for this book?
I don't know. The boy makes me think of my dad, who went to work in construction when he was 12. His father abandoned the family, and he had to step up and work. I don't know. So the boy's a lot like my father, and it was fun to write, to slip into that kind of world.
How many books have you written?
I do not honestly.
So that means more than 1 or 2.
More than 2 or 3 dozen. Probably
Wow.
Between 2 and 3 dozen.
How long have you been doing this?
I can't remember not writing. I think I wrote the first story about, I guess 40 years ago, probably.
Wow.
First novel. I was writing short stories and about then, and selling a few.
And I was impressed
articles.
with some of the places that you've sold short stories and articles.
Well, it's been a long time. And I quit doing them once I started writing books.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Yes, that's where I sold my first one.
That's pretty impressive.
It was a story based on an incident that my husband had. He's an exploration geologist, and he was out, in this wild area, and happened on a still and met this old woman, who scared him. And so I just took it a little farther and had her kill the geologist, and feel very satisfied that she did the right thing. And it's kind of a moral tale, but it was fun to write.
It sounds kind of like the lyrics to Rocky Top, actually. Stranger ain't come down.
Yes, he hasn't come down.
I understand that one of your previous books has been doing really well recently.
Oh, The Milk Bride. I'll show you that
Can you tell us a
one
little
too.
about that one?
Well, this is a
Hold it up so we can see it.
Western romance, and I guess it's a Christian Western romance. There's an angel. A young mother dies and leaves her son, who gets sick. He can't take cow's milk, and they don't have any other choice. And he goes for the local slut who has had a baby and has milk, and she's just lost her baby and her father, and really isn't a slut, of course. And it's quite a tortured tale, and it was fun to write.
So you write a lot of different types of genres.
Yes, I read constantly. I always have 2 or 3 books a week, and so I think writers do that, don't they? Make up another story if this one, you like that world or something about it appeals to you. And I always write from character. If I have an interesting character, a person, I want to explore how they feel, how they think, see how they justify what they do. And probably one of the weirdest is one I wrote in January, Edge of Night, that it has a murderer, and I'm actually in the heroine and the hero's viewpoint, and also for a while in this psychotic ex-husband that's pursuing them. And that was kind of weird. I've not done that before, a lot of head hopping.
Right.
And it's kind of different.
Yeah, it's hard to pull off.
It's hard. I don't know. It's very exciting though because you know how evil he is,
Uh-huh.
and it's kind of liberating too to be evil. And I don't know, but
Well, you do have a dark, twisted side.
I
Because,
have a
well,
moment
I
or
was
two.
reading an excerpt. What was the book that was from?
Killing the Darlings.
Killing the Darlings. Yeah, I was.
That's a lovely old
I
couple.
can't wait to read the whole thing now because
It's
it was a
kinda
real
neat.
page turner.
Well, thank you. I like that one. That was from Nano November's book. So I write probably a book every couple of months, and now that I'm retired, I didn't write. It would take me a year to write a book when I was teaching, but now that I'm retired, I've always, you dream you will do that.
Mhm.
If I ever have time, what will I do? Well, I will finally write, so I do.
When you sit down to start a new project,
hmm
are you one of those people that has the end goal in mind and outlines, or do you just start moving and see where it takes you?
I've done both,
Oh, yeah?
but it's very messy if you just start moving. It is, if you're writing a genre tale like a Western or a romance, you know how it ends. They end up together. You don't know how on earth it can happen because they're such an unlikely pair and there's such conflict between them. And it's kind of neat to get it all tied up, there at the end, but you know where you're going. So those you can kind of pants and sit, just write. But, Will Henry actually, like I say, I started it as a script and I couldn't chop it down. It's a 134 page script. They've got to be 120 pages or less. And I thought, well, golly. So I tried it as a novel, and then during, I guess in April, I wrote it as a book. And it's much better because you can develop character. And the children are so fascinating in the story. I mean, they really pull together and change. It's wonderful. I mean, I like the book. But before I was just writing for me, and I write till I'm satisfied with it, till it makes sense, it seems believable, and there's enough happening to them, to keep them on their toes.
Right.
I like it.
You said that you couldn't remember a time that you didn't write. Can you remember the first thing that you wrote that you felt like really satisfied and like, wow, I have accomplished something?
The thing of it is, it came easily, because I started reading early, and I'm just a voracious reader of everything. I mean, nonfiction, fiction. I don't care about category. If it's got words, you read. And you put all that together. And so I took a writing course. I think my son was 5, and I took a writing course at the Y in Knoxville. And the lady said, "Oh, Janet, this is marvelous. Send it off." I sent it off, and Alfred Hitchcock bought it. And I thought, this is easy. So the next semester, whatever, she had a class on writing nonfiction. And so I wrote an article, and she said, "Oh, this is wonderful. Send it somewhere, So I sent it off, and it's sold, and I thought, oh, piece of cake. I've got this. And if you're a writer, I don't know about you, but I write poetry and little essays, and that's what I would write before I took the class. And I wrote a poem, and I was just so thrilled with it because I'd always written poetry, and I thought, I am gifted, in poetry. And she said, "Well, Janet, I don't know how to tell you, but you can write fiction and nonfiction." I thought, okay, what's she say? My poetry stinks. So I didn't write poetry for another 30 years,
My.
And in the writer's group, there are a lot of poets, so it still bursts out every once in a while to write a poem, but
I've said
I don't know.
many times that I think that if you're going to write good prose, you should write poetry.
Well,
Even if, like, I don't know that mine's that great either, but just the process
well,
of doing
it's
it.
tight, and you get the
Exactly.
right word. You play
Exactly.
and twiddle at it till you get
Exactly.
those right words, and it sings. I love poetry, but anyway.
So you've always been a reader, and you'd be
Right,
hard pressed
reader.
to find a writer who wasn't a reader.
Well, I don't know. There are more now.
Well, you got a point there.
As president of a writers group, I've seen quite a few who've never read a book. But
Can you
are
think
really
of
writers.
anyone in particular that you feel has influenced you as a writer?
Well, I don't know. big influence.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was fascinated by John Grisham. I don't know if you read his stories, but to me, they're just like a movie, and they're so fast, and every scene's a chapter. You know, his first lawyer novels, and I just found that revelatory. And I love Faulkner. I like language. I just love words, you know, and not one, because I love them all.
Yeah.
A good book's priceless. You know, if you find something you enjoy to read.
Yeah, I like to just read Faulkner and just float away on
Yes,
all the words.
and they fuss about his grammar, and I'm sure he didn't have much, but it's wonderful. You're so in the world, you know. And I have that issue, probably. I sprinkle in commas when I'm through. People tell me they're not always where they should be, but I do add a few. But
well, I've really enjoyed what I've seen of your work. I look forward to reading more. And it's available. You got several of your books available here at Foxleaf.
I have them all available at Foxleaf, or will have Pottersville soon, and which is the first book I have published. I guess I mentioned that. It's a cozy mystery. But then they're also available through Kindle on Amazon and through Create Space, so you can get paperback or a $3 ebook.
Right. So you have no excuse.
No excuse.
Thank you very much for coming and visiting with us, and thank you all.